call the order of the Lake Mills City Council meeting of December 1st, 2015. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's see if you would call the roll, please.
Mr. Grundon?
Here.
Mr. Foster?
Here.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Here.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Here.
Mr. Schar?
Here.
Mr. Knippel?
Here.
Correction and approval of city council minutes of November 17th, 2015. Do I hear a motion of adoption?
So moved.
And a second, please?
Second.
Let's see, would you call the vote, please?
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkovich? Aye. Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Schar?
Aye.
Mr. Grundon?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Item 4, correspondence. We'll start with Ed.
None.
Mike.
None.
Blaze.
None.
Steve.
Quiet.
And I was quiet also. Quiet is good. Misty, would you read item 5, please, the notice?
Questions and public comment. The public is encouraged to address the council at this time regarding items on the agenda unless the item is the subject of a public hearing. If your comments pertain to a public hearing, you are asked to hold your comments until the hearing. Public comment may also be made at this time on items that are not on the agenda if you have registered with the city clerk before the meeting has been called to order. The state's open meeting law discourages action by the council on items not listed on the agenda. Please keep your comments limited to 3 minutes and state your name and address when stating your comments and fill out the sign-in sheet provided.
May I?
Sure.
Okay.
Just give us your name and your address, please.
Leslie DeMuth, N8016, County Highway G, Lake Mills, Wisconsin. And I'm here on behalf of the Arts Alliance of Greater Lake Mills to thank you, the City Council and the city, for helping us install and put in the poetry pavers. I'm also here on behalf of the Arts Alliance and the Lake Mills Main Street program to give you an update on our Ford Court sculpture project. And the city council both have been very, very helpful in filling out and applying for a National Endowment for grant for this project. Unfortunately, we just found out that we didn't get it. And it was it would have basically funded a quarter of the project, $10,000, and we decided that at this point, we did not want to pursue this project. So maybe sometime in the future, but I just want to thank you for your help with this. And I just want to update you too that we're going to do our temporary art installation in the back alley, funded by the Wisconsin Arts Board, with the state of Wisconsin and the Arts Alliance of Greater Lake Mills, and we're going to be doing that in the spring, April, May, and sometime like that. So thank you very much for your kind attention and all of your help on these projects.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Don Chapman. I'm from 308 North Ferry Drive. I came to this meeting. I came to the last meeting because I was screwed up on the dates. I applied for a liquor license so I can work down at the mobile station down here in town, just to so I don't have to drive to work in Madison all the time. I made a few mistakes in my life, and I've learned from them. Really, I have. And the OWI that I had was in '07, and since that time I've got myself back on track. I bought a house here in town, and I just like to work in town instead of going to Madison. I understand, the responsibility that comes with the liquor license. I pretty much don't see me having a problem, with drinking on the job or something like that, because I would be fired immediately. But just looking to get this license, so hopefully I can work in town. If you have any questions, I'd be open to whatever. Anything. I don't know what else to say.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Donald. Anyone else wishing to address the council? Okay, if not, we'll close questions and public comments and move on to the city manager's report. Steve?
I provided you 2 documents on the, attached to the agenda. One was a Jefferson County Republican Party letter on the election officials. We have since received one from the Democratic Party, so that'll be on our next agenda. One of the items that's been going around, and I don't know if you've heard, is the goat farm at the intersection of Mansfield and Harvey Road.
The what?
The goat farm?
Goat farm?
Goat farm?
Okay.
Yeah, they're proposing to put in a farm that'll have between 8,000 and 9,000 goats.
Oh, that's a few goats.
Yeah. There's a little bit of controversy going on, particularly in the town of Astlin, so I got a call from one of the town representatives asking if the city could do anything. It was like, probably less than you, so I guess we'll see where that goes. We're still working with Verizon on that cell tower pole in the back here. They've provided some more information and we're reviewing their proposals. Did you get a league call to action email?
I did not.
Okay.
Well, I can't say that. I may have.
I will send it out again because it's asking you to get a hold of your legislators about a proposed bill that's coming through that'll pretty much strip cities of all their power. So look it over and see what you want
Is
to
that
do.
in regards to property rights?
Yeah. I received the first complaint about music in the Commons.
Was it too loud?
Yes, and too late.
Oh, okay. So is it being addressed?
The police department was handling it, so I don't know where it went. The library handicapped ramp, they started working on that today, along with some sidewalk replacement in the area. This is a notice from the Municipal Boundary Review Department and the Department of Administration at the state of Wisconsin. All annexations have to be reviewed by the state and found, what is it, in the best interest of the citizens. And they did find that it was in the best interest and that the annexations could go ahead. Of course, the way state statute reads, if we have a municipal boundary agreement, there's really no way that, there's nothing that they have to prevent it.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm not sure I understood the letter, but it sounded like they wanted us to do it as one thing instead of 3 separate things?
Right. They were suggesting that we do it in a single ordinance. But we've already been progressing forward with 3 ordinances, and we reviewed it and felt that for our benefit, it's better to have it in 3 separate ordinances. They do issue 3 separate numbers that can be issued to each one of them instead of just one that would have covered, you know, if there'd been one number and we'd have probably had to combine them into one ordinance, but because they issued 3 numbers, 3 ordinances is fine.
So it was a recommendation, not a
It was a
requirement?
recommendation, not a requirement.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Winter parking is in effect. Today's December 1st. I noticed that there were a lot of warnings handed out in the last couple days. Misty, you want to talk about council seats and elections?
Sure. Just to bring up again that the notice of spring election was published. We've got Councilperson District 1 with incumbent Edward Grundon, Councilperson District 2, incumbent Stephen Kirkevich, and then the municipal judge, Vincent Guerrero, is the incumbent for that. And today is the first day for circulation of nomination papers.
Can I
That's
make,
for the April spring election.
can I make a follow-up comment? I think we mentioned it at the last meeting, but under our new ordinance now, that means that everybody in the city of Lake Mills can run for city council. Everybody, either in Ward 1 or in Ward, what's the other one?
The two districts.
And one in.
District.
Yeah,
One
the
district.
district on the north and the district on the south, so you're all in an open district if you want to run for city council. So this is one of the changes we made to make government more accessible to the people. So if you have an interest, you come to city, and you can even pick the papers up off the internet, can't you?
You can print them off
Yeah.
of the JB's website. Otherwise, we do have packets available here at City Hall.
Right. So if you've been thinking about it, there's nobody here without an excuse to try. You're welcome to try.
Steve, I have an announcement too. I wish to announce to the public that after a decade and a half, I will be stepping down from the position on the city council. I've been here for, when we get into March, it'll be starting 16 consecutive years on the council. And my wife and I have decided together that it's time that I step aside, start a new phase in my life. When I figure out what I want to do when I grow up, I'll let you all know. I encourage people from the 1st District, as said, that's the north side of town, to consider serving the city of Lake Mills by taking out papers, getting the needed signatures. It's not that difficult, about 50 of them, and getting on the April election ballot. And I would also like to thank the citizens of Lake Mills who for all these years have supported me with their words of support and encouragement, and especially for those who in my wards have voted for me numerous times over the decade and a half that I've been elected. And it's been my honor to serve all the citizens of Lake Mills, and I wish to thank you all.
I
For the
I have a
seat
couple,
from, wards, what wards? 8, 1 and 8?
1, 4, 5, and 8, is that?
Should know my wards by now.
yeah, I think it is.
1, 4, 5, and 8, I believe.
1,
is
4, 5, and 8
District
are
one,
now.
But I'd have to verify that.
There's no incumbent, so please step forward and start serving the city as a council member.
I have a couple more items, Rudy.
Sure.
The PS hearing on the water rates is December 9th at 2 PM here. Board and committee vacancies, we also have some vacancies there. We have a plan commission vacancy, a zoning board of appeals vacancy, and a cable TV committee vacancy. And we're starting to develop a memorandum of understanding with the recreation department regarding the concession stand bathrooms at Walls Park. All right, that's all I have unless there are questions.
And again, I just want to reiterate, elections coming up. You know, this is your opportunity to become a voice of the city. Also, on these boards are very important. If you have the time, it would be a great value to the city and the citizens if you would step forward and volunteer for these. So let's go on to item 7, acceptance of committee minutes. I have before me the Parks Board minutes of October 21st, 2015, and the Library Board of October 19th, 2015. They'll go on record as read. Under council business, we have tavern operator's license. Misty, would you read the names, please?
Brittany Blake, Sean Wilkerson, Erdman Gerstner, Damian Turfel, and Donald Chapman.
And do we hear a motion of adoption of these 5 individuals?
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, Misty, would you call the vote?
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Grundon?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mr. Shar?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Item B is the discussion decision on the Main Street design, Highway 89. This is motion 1512-1-1. Yes? Is that right?
Just 1-1-1.
No S?
No.
No, the S is South Main Street.
Oh dear, stuff getting old. Misty, would you read that motion, please?
City Council Motion 15-12-1-1, providing direction to WISDOT regarding trees on South Main Street. Whereas the City Council of the City of Lake Mills has authority over the maintenance of rights-of-way within the City of Lake Mills. And whereas the City of Lake Mills has policies regulating the location of trees and utilities in existing right-of-ways. And whereas the City Council is considering requesting a change to these policies for South Main Street to allow trees in the street lawn. And whereas the City Council has reviewed the proposed policy issues and determined to take the following action. Be it therefore moved this first day of December 2015 by the City of Lake Mills Council that Section 1, that the right-of-way policy regarding street lawns for South Main Street from the southern end of the Highway 89 South Main Street project to the South Main Street Lake Street intersection is amended by the attached memo. Section 2, that the city manager is authorized to notify WISDOT of the change and administer said policy. The City Council does hereby modify the city right-of-way policy for South Main Street and authorizes the council president to sign the motion.
And do we have a motion of adoption?
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
And discussion? Steve, why don't you
you-
start to put the picture up?
Put up the.
Why don't you give us a little narrative?
No, you can't.
Okay, when we had the second public information meeting, there was a lot of discussion around the fact that with the trees coming out, what were the options for putting trees back in? And we had discussed previously taking easements behind the sidewalk and placing trees in that location where the city would maintain a tree in the front yard of people's properties. Some of the debate back and forth in the meeting is that having trees closer to the street helped slow traffic, kept the pavements cooler, and there was a lot of conversation of, how could we make this area unique or special? I think some English person mentioned that. The staff got together after the meeting and we kind of debated all the issues, and you see kind of what we were thinking about in the memo. We listened to them, we thought about what kind of conditions and what kind of balances there were back and forth between each one. The conditions are right that we could plant trees in the right-of-way, but you need a minimum of a 7.5 foot tree lawn to get the normal sized tree in. We're dealing with 5 feet, 5.5. And so planting large trees would be problematic. So we're proposing to come back with you have to go through and do a lot of review about the soil conditions, the amount of compaction, the types of trees you can plant in this zone, how resistant they are to salt and other chemicals that are put on the street. And so we propose that you also don't want to have all of one type of variety, because if they die, every tree on the street will die and you won't have any left. So we're trying to look at about between 6 and 8 different varieties of trees that we would be able to plant up and down the street. If you look at the document here, and it's a little dark, but there's a street light right here.
Yeah.
This is on it, and that's a street light. That's the proposed street light. And then we would have at least 2 blooming trees between each one. So you could drive up and down this 1.25 miles in either direction. So basically 2.5 miles of blooming trees in the spring. So it would be a unique feature, probably a drawing item, kind of like cherry blossoms in Washington. It also gives that narrower feel to the street, gives the pedestrians a little bit more of a separation feel from the street. And so we put together this alternate proposal to look at, and this is basically the way the street would look under this alternate proposal. You have the 2 traffic lanes, the 2 bike lanes, the parking, the small tree lawn, and then everything on the outside of that on the outside of the sidewalk is existing. So all those big trees, all the buildings are actually taken right off a photo that was used. So you can look in the upper corner. This photo right here in the upper corner is the one that we used to create this rendering. So all those trees that are behind the sidewalks and all the buildings are actual and are clearly represented. So if you pull in here, you can see the fish hatchery sign in the photo there. So it's a pretty accurate rendering of what the street would look like under the conditions that we're proposing. But because this is part of the environmental report for WSDOT, and they have to have that submitted by December 8th, I have to have a decision shortly in order, in fact, we're not going to have another meeting before the decision has to be made, because it has to be submitted as part of the environmental statement to the feds in order to be able to get the project. Putting trees back in the right-of-way is a significant part of the historic features and some other environmental remediation issues on the project, so they really wanted to know what we were going to do at this point. So are there any specific questions, or you want me to go into more detail on any of the other topics?
Well, I had a question. If we look at something like this, what does this do with the plan for your sewer, water, and all the other?
Well, the sewer, the sanitary sewer had to remain in the middle of the street. And I mentioned that a couple times, and I mentioned it in the memo because the depth of the sanitary sewer is so deep that you couldn't move it one way or the other, because you would be digging right up into people's front yards, because the way you dig is kind of opens it up wider and wider. So the keeping the street right in keeping the sanitary sewer right in the center of the street has significant benefits in construction. Obviously, the existing sanitary sewer is right in the center of the street, so it creates specific construction methods that have to be used. Because if you're laying the new sanitary sewer right where the old sanitary sewer is, you still need the sewer to function. So you build that new sanitary sewer. Basically what you do is you go to the one manhole, you plug it, and you pump around, and then you construct to that point, and then you create a temporary connection from the one manhole to the last place you dug, and that's what happens for that time period. So it creates some problems, but in order to be able to serve the areas that we need to be able to serve in the future, and based on the size of the sanitary sewers we're constructing, that needed to be done. The water main would be the other question, and that one would work in the tree lawn. The issue that we had is that if you put the water main right in the center of the tree lawn, the fire hydrant connections don't work because it's such a small tree lawn. So you can't, usually it come out, you put in a T in the water main, and then you put in a 2-foot section, and then you put another valve, and then you put another section, and then you have the angle up where the hydrant comes out. Well, you do that in this area with the water main in there already, which should be in the center, to make it diggable without tearing up the sidewalk or the curb. You can't get your fire hydrants in there. The other option was to run them all the way to the other side of the street. But then you got a long hydrant services that really kicked the cost up. So what we did was we figured the best option was to put it right at the edge of the sidewalk. So if you're looking at this right here, it's going to go on this side of the street, and we would put it right at that inside edge of the sidewalk, right below there. If you have to tear the sidewalk out, it's a lot cheaper than tearing the street out.
It would be on the property side or the tree lawn side?
The sidewalk,
Tree lawn side of the sidewalk?
the property lines are all about 6 to 12 inches behind the sidewalk. This would be located right under the front edge here towards the street side, so no, it wouldn't be in any private property. And then it would take a little bit of a special construction method for the hydrants, but that would still work.
Steve, I have a question then on the state was paying for some of the trees? Or do we have to bear the cost of all the trees? Refresh my memory on that.
No, the state pays for the trees.
And will they, if we go with this concept of flowering
Yep.
trees, they still agree with it? Okay.
Actually, this is cheaper for them. The, it depends. They will pay a certain amount per tree. And I think that almost every tree we select will hit that dollar amount. Obviously their compaction is a real issue when you're planting trees. And anytime you're doing a construction project, compaction gets really bad. And so it makes it more difficult for the roots to penetrate, and then it creates more of a situation where they're going to want to come out in the street and the sidewalk. So how we plant them could be an issue, and so what kind of methods we use to plant them, we may use a little bit more than we would in a normal street tree. We might dig deeper and put in a gravel dirt mix, or we might put in some type of box. But that all depends again on a lot of the conditions that were mentioned in the memo. Is that we're going to try and use it by picking the correct trees for the area, and then if there are some areas where we're going to have to do a little bit more, and we'll just have to work through that. The state pays us to remove the trees, and the state pays us to put the trees back, but it's a set fee per tree. So,
If I recall it, $500 comes to mind, was that right, per tree?
I can't remember, Rudy. I thought it was a little bit more than that, but I'm not going to guarantee it.
Any other questions? Blaze, you got any questions?
Yes.
No.
From what I'm seeing in the TV viewer behind you, the people at home can't see the picture. Is there anything we could do about that?
They do on that one over there. Well,
Okay.
yeah, Dave can get it on.
It's on the website, isn't it?
Yes, it's on the website, but Dave can get it on. He just needs to take this camera and shoot it for a minute. Did you get it on already? Oh, he said
Okay.
it's on already.
Excellent. Thank you.
I think that, just this rendering here is it gives me a lot more peace of mind, I guess. Initially, I thought, we're going to see a sterile street like they have in Waterloo, where they redid whatever that Main Street is, where they
19?
huh?
19?
Not 19, the other one that goes north.
89.
89, yeah. But this gives me a lot of peace of mind. This looks doable here, and especially as I know the trees won't grow as big as the ones that we have there now, but you did mention that we could plant bigger trees behind the sidewalk.
We would be willing to give each property owner one big tree
Okay.
that they could plant somewhere in their yard, but it wouldn't be ours. It would be theirs.
Okay.
That's in the proposal that we're putting forward. Obviously, you see that there's a canopy and there are trees, and so what we tried to do is capture the idea that there are big trees. It does break up the view. It doesn't give this one long sterile view. The other one is that you get the trees now that fit in the tree lawn, or hopefully fit in the tree lawn, that are close enough to give that feeling of narrowing the street up and slowing, helping to slow the traffic down and giving the pedestrians a feeling of separation from the traffic. And so we tried to incorporate as much as we could. You get a lot of the bigger trees behind it. It'll create a larger canopy, will cover a lot of the air pollution removal, provide more shade. The only problem I worry about a little bit is that the canopy would get so dense that the smaller trees may not survive.
I guess we'll just have to cross that bridge when we come to it.
The other one that I mentioned a little bit that isn't really shown here is that I did mention a little bit about, businesses that have trees in front of them do better. There are currently no street trees in our downtown area. I don't know if you want to consider incorporating that. That'll take a lot more work because you got to create those boxes in the sidewalks. And we already have a lot of congestion in the downtown area with our sidewalk cafes and our bicycle racks and our planters and those types of things. So it would be it'd be something difficult, but it is an option we could consider.
That wouldn't have to be tied to this. That
No,
would be
no.
a standalone.
That would, yeah, we could just add that as
Yeah,
part. Yeah.
sure. Okay, yeah, and that would be a good, because I noticed in Jefferson where they have it, especially in the summertime, it does create a lot, a little shade and it makes for a more homey type atmosphere. But, yeah. Any other questions for Steve? Misty, would you call the vote, please?
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Shar?
Aye.
Mr. Grundon?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
I do have just one quick comment that actually we've started doing this kind of thing on North Main. We have quite a few blooming flowers on North Main, but
I
it
think
wasn't part of the original plan.
I think though, well, the North Main has the same problem with the tree lawn. And I think that ultimately we would carry that over all the way from the north end to the south end to make it kind of a feature of the Main Street drag.
Okay, I like that idea.
Okay, item C, discussion decision on services to update and submit the 2013 remedial action plan for the CPM Corporation and cantankerous properties at 621 and 691 East Lake Street. And this would be motion 15-12-1-2. Misty, if you would, please.
City Council Motion 15-12-1-2, authorizing the city manager to execute documents for completion of a brownfield remediation plan, whereas the City Council of the City of Lake Mills, pursuant to authority conferred by Wisconsin state statutes, has established tax incremental financing district number 3 to encourage development within the corporate limits of the City of Lake Mills. And whereas the City Council has received requests from the owners of the CPN property, Ken Pearson, and from Aggressive Metals, Nick and Neil Holland, for assistance with completing the environmental remediation plan in TID number 3. And whereas the city manager and staff finds that funds will be available and the sites are required to submit the environmental remediation plan to the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. And whereas the City Council has reviewed the information submitted and has considered the information regarding the subject, be it therefore moved this first day of December 2015 by the City of Lake Mills Council that the council does hereby direct staff to act according to the following conditions. Number 1, the city will assist the applicants with submission of the environmental remediation plans. 2, the city will fund the submission of the environmental remediation plans from TID number 3. 3, staff is authorized to enter into the attached environmental remediation plan agreement in TID number 3. The City Council does hereby approve said motion.
And we have a motion of adoption.
So moved.
And a second, please.
A second?
And Steve, would you fill us in on this one?
We've been working with these properties for quite a few years now, back to when we started TID number 3. We have completed phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 of the environmentals. We actually had the remediation plan completed in 2012. They were not submitted to the DNR for finalization, probably because neither one of the property owners had the funds available. The DNR is now pressuring them substantially to comply. So I asked to have what it would take to have the remediation plan updated and what it would cost to have us get it submitted and approved. Have visited with both property owners, and they're in agreement that they would cooperate with us And so what I would like to do is get the remediation plan finalized, which basically incorporates capping several areas that are considered hotspots on the site that was identified in the phase 3 environmental. Generally, those cappings require a foot of gravel, 2 feet of black dirt, or 1.5 inches of asphalt.
I remember most of that was just caps, wasn't it?
It was all caps. I should take that back. There is a requirement in there for a year of vapor testing in the buildings, and there was a year of groundwater testing that has to be done, and that those two testing requirements and the asphalt cap were the most expensive parts of the remediation plan. This isn't approving the remediation plan. This is approving the submission of the remediation plan to the DNR. So that's all we're doing here. So it's going to cost us about $1,300 to $1,700.
Now, who is going to be responsible for actually doing it? Is it going to be the property owners or
The property owners are held responsible by the DNR.
Okay.
It's kind of an odd situation in that the original property owner is now subdivided it multiple times, and then you have multiple owners who are now involved in it. And so what was once one site is now 3. One, Rock Lake Storage, Tim Esser has got his closure statement done. He had all his stuff submitted and has got his closure statement complete. These two properties have more sites that need to be capped, and so they're more difficult. But I kind of went over it in that while they're responsible, in the long run financially, I don't think they have the capacity, which means that the city ultimately will probably end up with the property anyways through through the tax processes and those types of things. So I think it's better for us just to get it moved on. But at this point in time, I'm not prepared to say that we're going to move ahead with the remediation plan. I want to sit down and negotiate agreements with everybody, and then I'll come back. At this point, it's just getting the DNR to say, yeah, this is the plan.
Okay. How much capping are we talking about?
Well, the total plan was coming in at about $170,000. That was everything. All the capping, all the testing, all the engineering.
And could that be picked up by the TID?
Yes, that's what I would propose, is that the TID pick it up.
Okay.
But I have to see how much revenue is generated in the TID, how long we can spread that out over, what costs, what costs we have to bear, what costs we don't. Like black dirt, we have a lot of black dirt, so we don't have to buy any black dirt. We can just haul it in and dump it. So there's some costs that we can reduce the overall cost by ourselves. There's some costs that they're willing to pick up through their labor or other in-kind processes. So until I can actually sit down and say, okay, this is what we have to do, what are you going to bring to the table, this is what we'll bring to the table, then I need to sit down with Betsy and figure out how much money we're actually making.
Okay. Questions? Please. Call the vote, please.
Mr. Shar?
Aye.
Mr. Grundon?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkovich? Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Okay, going to item D was a discussion decision on a memorandum of understanding with Hawkins Ash CPA for the 2015, 16, and 17 audit services. This was motion 15-12-1-3. And Misty, if you would, please.
City Council Motion 15-12-1-3, authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement between the City of Lake Mills and Hawkins Ash CPAs. Be it moved by the City Council of the City of Lake Mills, Wisconsin as follows. Section 1, that the agreement for purchase of auditing services between the City of Lake Mills and Hawkins Ash CPAs for the years 2015, 2016, and 2017, copies of which are attached hereto and made a part hereof, is hereby approved. Section 2, that the city manager is authorized to execute said agreement and to take such actions as necessary to implement such agreement. Section 3, that the city clerk is directed to send a copy of this motion to Hawkins Ash CPAs. The city council has hereby approved the agreement and authorized the council president to sign the motion.
And do we hear a motion of adoption?
So moved.
And a second, please?
Second.
Steve? Is this a new one? Or, I guess, Betsy?
Yeah, this is Betsy's deal.
Is this a new one?
No, we've been with this company
Okay.
for a long time.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, we have a very good relationship with them.
Okay. So it's just a continuation of,
Right, right. They're asking for an increase in the fees. And there is sufficient funds in the budget to cover that increase. And, you know, there are more requirements placed on the auditors. As time goes on, there's more things added to the required reporting. So I think this is a reasonable increase.
okay. Questions? Betsy, if you would?
Mr. Grundon?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Shar?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Okay. This is Resolution 15-43, preliminary resolution on a proposed special assessment on East Lake Park Place. Misty?
Resolution 15-43, preliminary resolution declaring intent to exercise special assessment police powers under Section 66.0703 with stats, East Lake Park Place. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin, that number 1, the City Council hereby declares its intention to exercise its police powers under Section 66.0703 with stats to levy special assessments upon property within the following described area for special benefits conferred upon such properties by installation of street improvements, curb and gutter, sidewalks, and restoration work. For the purpose of the above benefits, the area includes the properties abutting East Lake Park Place from its intersection with South Main Street to the east of its intersection with Pinnacle Drive. 2, the public improvements shall consist of the installation of base course, asphalt pavement, sidewalks, curb and gutter, and restoration work. 3, the total amount assessed against the properties in the defined assessment district shall be, upon a reasonable basis, shall not exceed the total cost of the public improvements, less applicable credits, and shall be apportioned among the individual parcels in a manner consistent with the city's special assessment policy. 4, the city council determines that the improvements constitute an exercise of police powers, and the amounts assessed against the parcels shall be based on actual costs. 5, the assessment against any parcel may be paid in full or in annual installments, the number of which shall be determined by the council in the final resolution levying the special assessments. 6, the Public Works Director shall prepare a report that shall consist of A, preliminary plans and specifications for the improvements, B, statement of benefits to affected properties. 7, the City Treasurer shall prepare a report that shall consist of A, an estimate of the entire cost of the proposed improvements, B, a schedule of proposed assessments. 8, when both reports are completed, they shall be filed with the city clerk for public inspection. 9, upon receipt of both reports, the clerk shall file a copy of the reports with the state agency that manages property owned by the state of Wisconsin for approval of the assessment by the Building Commission, which has up to 90 days to review the assessment, and the proposed project may not be commenced, nor may a contract for such project be let prior to the Building Commission's approval. 10, the clerk shall prepare a notice stating the nature of the proposed work or improvements, the general boundary lines of the proposed assessment district, including a small map thereof, the time and place at which the report may be inspected, and the time and place at which all interested persons or their agents or attorneys may appear before the governing body and be heard before the City Council concerning the matters contained in the preliminary resolution and reports. 11, the notice shall be published as a Class 1 notice under Chapter 985, and a copy shall be mailed at least 10 days before the hearing to affected landowners whose post office address is known or can be ascertained with reasonable diligence. 12, the hearing in accordance with Section 66.0703, Sub 7, with stats shall commence not less than 10 nor more than 40 days after publication of the Class 1 notice.
And I hear a motion of adoption.
So moved.
And a second, please? Get a second?
Yeah.
Okay, this is for the East Lake Park Place project. Sidewalks, gutters.
Do we already have, date picked for the public hearing?
No.
Okay.
Technically, you do this just to start the process. So now we actually start getting down to brass tacks on determining what the special assessments are going to be. They're not going to be what we originally anticipated they were going to be, because we have specialed some of it in the past. So one property owner will probably be substantially benefited. The city will have to borrow more than they originally anticipated. One property owner will have a slight amount more than they anticipated. So it's falling out, but generally overall, the process is going pretty much in the design phases as we anticipated. We've been working with the school district on locating the sidewalk, been working with the fish hatchery on driveways and a couple other property owners, and we'll actually get the hard details now of where it's going to go. Probably the biggest thing that we're still outstanding on is stormwater related to Highway 89 and how it will affect East Lake Park Place.
Blaze, this is gonna be up your alley, it's gonna be your school, it's gonna be putting in the new sidewalks.
We'll be putting in storm water on Lake Park Place?
Yes, the stormwater runs, right now they're big ditches.
Right. But 89 won't be done by the time you're done, so where's that water gonna go until we're done with Highway 89?
Right now, there are only 2 inlets on 89. Most of it flows overland. So what they're doing is a watershed calculation of about how much water should be flowing down there. And then they tell us, and we have to build the pipe to that size.
Okay.
So if we do our calculations for our part of the street, we add theirs on. So if we had a 12-inch pipe, we might have to go to a 36-inch pipe.
Wow. That's
There's
big
not
pipe.
a lot of, I mean, you still have to dig and you still have to drop the pipe in, and you know,
Yeah.
12-inch pipe versus a 36-inch pipe, there's some additional cost, but it's not huge, but they'll reimburse us for that. They're probably some of the bigger issues are you have to do a certain amount of contaminant removal, just like all the private properties that we deal with where we make them put in some type of stormwater basin that helps remove contaminants. We have to do that too when we build a street under these conditions. So it's, where are we going to do that? Are we going to put a bioretention basin down at the, where the lift station is on East Lake Park Place? Are we going to put in inlets that are called sumps? And then there are a couple other ones. There are storm scepters and those types of things. So we're trying to work through those issues as much as anything else. They proposed to us the cheapest construction one is 60 sumps. Well, 60 sumps requires that every year you have to take a vac truck and go out and vac out those sumps. So vacuuming 60 sumps every year is at least a 2-week project, if not more. And sometimes it'll have to be done more than twice a year. So that wasn't at the top of my list of favorite options. So then they get into other design features like the storm scepters and those types of things, which you still have to vac out, but they're bigger, and so they do more treatment. So you only have to go maybe to 3 or 4 of those, and then just one big vacuum situation. So it's the biodetention basin is probably the simplest, but then it changes a lot of the design features of East Lake Park Place down there by that lift station. makes the sidewalk real difficult. Maybe a bridge.
So how many actual houses are affected by this?
2.
Two? What's our process for notifying them? That's just me asking, I don't know.
Well, it's all by state statute.
Uh-huh.
And we've already noticed them once, and they attended the Public Works Board meeting for a discussion on the special assessment, and we went over, the design and their potential costs. Eventually, we have to, as part of the final special assessment resolution, we have to have a public hearing here. We have to have the final set of plans available for them to review, and we have to have what we anticipate their special assessment will be. At that point, you set their special, and then that's the cap. You can be under it, but you can't go over it.
Now, both of those properties are corner lots, so they get a break on.
They get a corner, what do they call it, corner credit, which is 50 feet.
Okay.
So they'll still pay probably 100 feet. There are 2 apartment buildings at the corner of Meadow Ridge, one on the east side and one on the west side. And then there's the school district administrative offices, and then the high school, all the way down to Pinnacle. And then on the north side, it's the fish hatchery from that one apartment building all the way to Lilac. And Lilac has that one house that's at the corner of East Lake Park Place and Lilac, but it's already got curb and gutter and sidewalk. So they won't get any special assessment. It'll just be the properties that don't have sidewalk, curb and gutter, or any of that.
I know we're starting this project next year. When is the completion on this project anticipated?
Well, obviously it affects the school district. So we're trying to make sure that we have it coordinated with the schools. So we want it done before the second week in August.
Okay.
But it'll require that we start before school gets out. So I'm assuming there's no sanitary sewer, very little. The main utility will be of water.
Right.
And then storm sewer. So they'll probably get those constructed to be able to keep the street open most of the time.
Yeah.
And then the base and the asphalt will be when most of the closure is occurring, and that'll probably occur in late June, early July.
And there's not that much traffic on there, school traffic. Most of it is off of Catlin and across down Main Street. So, I mean, it'll affect some, but there's plenty of different ways around. So I don't really anticipate a problem. Any other questions? How do you feel about it, Blaze? You ready for it?
Yeah, I like the idea.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I think it's time that there's a sidewalk there.
Okay, good. Misty, if you'd call the vote, please.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Shar?
Aye.
Mr. Grundon?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Okay, item F, resolution 1544, amending recycle refuge monthly fee. Misty, if you would, please.
Resolution 15-44, establishing garbage, refuse, and recyclable pickup and disposal fees pursuant to Section 4-3-3 of the City of Lake Mills Municipal Code. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Lake Mills, Wisconsin as follows. Section 1, that the agreement with John's Disposal allows the contractor to increase rates based on CPIU. Section 2, that John's Disposal has notified the city of a rate increase as required by the agreement. Section 3, that John's Disposal has offered no increase in fees for 2016, provided the city extends the current agreement and the city has extended the contract with John's Disposal. Section 4, that the state budget has reduced the amount of grant funds available for payments in 2016 due to the reduced grant and increase in fees as deemed necessary. Section 5, that the council approves the charge of $12.71 per unit per month, which shall apply to all private residences, commercial, industrial, institutional, and/or agricultural collection points in the city of Lake Mills. Be it further resolved that this charge shall be effective upon publication in the official newspaper as required by the municipal code and effective January 1, 2016, and the council president is authorized to sign the resolution.
And do we have a motion of adoption?
So moved.
And a second, please?
Second.
And if I read that right, the increase is gonna be 21 cents per household?
Right.
And I think it's important, Rudy, that we point out, per a memo that we got from Betsy, that it's the loss in revenue from the state. Johns themselves honored the agreement that we had with them. They didn't increase the fees, but the governor's budget took away what amounted to the 21 cents a month per resident. And so we're just breaking even again.
Good. Any other questions or comments?
Well, I think it's important for the public to understand that this is another one of those things where the city is getting hit by actions from the state. And it's over and over and over again that there's less support from the state, and we have nowhere to go but to pass it on to everybody who lives here. But this used to be money that went from the state to Johns, and then they passed it on to us. Well, they're not getting it, so it's got to come from somewhere. So if you think the state budget cuts are helping everybody, you might want to think about that again.
Okay.
Most of these fees, the recycling grants come from funds that are paid by the garbage haulers to the landfills. And they pay a special fee to get in, and part of that fee goes to the state. And then that was supposed to be used for grants back to the municipals for recycling. But that's changed. They still collect the fees.
That won't go away.
Okay, call the vote, please.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Shar?
Aye.
Mr. Grundon?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Okay, moving on to ordinance 1157. This is a petition for annexation of Simden. This is the third reading, so Misty, if you would read that, but don't do the legal description. Keep it short. Can we do that, Council?
We just need the title, don't we? We've had it read
Not for
twice.
third reading.
Why are we leaving off the legal description?
It's not that big.
It's not.
He was just saying don't read it because it's so long and doesn't make a lot of sense to most people, except for engineers and surveyors.
The legal description is incorporated through the petition itself, so you already don't have to read it. It's,
Oh, okay.
It's incorporated by reference.
Okay. All right.
So do you want me to read it in entirety then?
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance number 1157, an ordinance annexing territory to the city of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin. The city council of the city of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin does ordain as follows. Section 1, territory annexed. In accordance with section 66.0217 Wisconsin statutes and the attached and incorporated by reference petition for direct annexation filed with city clerk on August 31, 2015, signed by the owners of the property proposed to be annexed, the following territory in the town of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin, is annexed to the city of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin. Section 2, effective annexation. From and after the date of this ordinance, the territory described in Section 1 shall be part of the city of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin, for any and all purposes provided by law, and all persons coming or residing within such territory shall be subject to all ordinances, rules, and regulations governing the city of Lake Mills. Section 3, ward designation. The territory described in Section 1 of this ordinance is hereby made a part of the first ward of the city of Lake Mills, subject to the ordinances, rules, and regulations of the city of Lake Mills governing wards. Section 4, severability. In any provision of this ordinance is invalid or unconstitutional. Such invalidity or unconstitutionality shall not affect the other provisions or applications of this ordinance that can be given effect without the invalid or unconstitutional provision of application. Section 5, effective date. This ordinance shall take effect upon passage and publication as provided by law.
And to have a motion of adoption.
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
Any discussion? Anything we need to, else we need to know, Steve? Good. pretty straightforward.
Yep, just brings some.
Okay, call the vote, please.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Shar?
Aye.
Mr. Grundon?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Welcome to the city. Ordinance 1158, petition for annexation of PMY LLC. This is the third reading. How's this one?
Ever read the whole
Pretty
thing?
much same deal.
Big deal? Would you read that ordinance, please?
Mr. Shar, would you like this ordinance read in entirety or just the difference from this is the same ordinance as the last one?
Yeah, just the difference.
Okay. This one is ordinance number 1158, an ordinance annexing territory to the city of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin. This is regarding the petition that was filed with city clerk on July 24th, 2015. That was PMY LLC.
And do I hear a motion of adoption?
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the vote, please.
Mr. Shar?
Aye.
Mr. Grundon?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Welcome to the city. And ordinance 1159, petition of annexation, the city of Lake Mills, Elm Street right-of-way, third reading.
This is ordinance number 1159, an ordinance annexing territory to the city of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin. This was for the petition that was filed in the city clerk's office on October 29th, 2015, the Elm Street right-of-way.
And do we have a motion of adoption?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the vote, please.
Mr. Grundon?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Shar?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
And moving on to item J, this is ordinance 1160. This is a stop sign at Elm and Grant Street. This is the second reading. Misty, read the title and we'll move it on to the third reading.
Ordinance 1160, stop sign located at Elm and Grant Street.
And item 9, recommendations for future agendas.
I just have one comment for the public, more so than anything, that the land we just annexed is the land that's going to be used for the new culvers that's coming into Lake Mills. And Elm Street is an integral part of that plan as well.
Yep.
So,
Thank you, Diane. Okay, if not, we're going to convene into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.85, paragraph 1C, compensation and performance evaluation data of employees over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibilities, in Wisconsin 1985, paragraph 1G, conferring with legal counsel who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or likely to be involved. Do I hear a motion?
so moved.
And a second?
Second.
And call the vote, please.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Shar?
Aye.
Mr. Grundon?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Okay, with that being said, we'll reconvene in closed session in approximately 5 minutes.